So here we are, Dan. We are the Varsity Voices. I want to know, do you still like our intro music, the drum stuff?
I'm a big fan.
Me
big
too.
Fan of it. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we should for next year or change it at all? Maybe find a different drum line?
Maybe.
I don't know. I think maybe it might be associated with us now.
It probably is, but
when people hear it on the radio,
yeah,
they think of varsity. They think of Varsity Voices.
Listening in their car. Yeah.
On B96? Is B96?
Yeah. I'm not sure. It's not one I listen to, just so you know. Yeah.
How about the loop? Is
maybe
Larry Lujak still on?
No, he's not. I'm not sure he's still alive either, which is another problem.
Tough to be on the air.
Yeah, so maybe what we do next year is, or we can institute this whenever we want, is we're known for our drumline intro, right? But we can change what that is. We can
we can do whatever the hell we want.
We can. It's our
show.
It's our freaking show.
Yeah.
Right?
We dropped we didn't like our outgoing music.
No, we dropped that.
Didn't quite fit, so we dropped that. Heard a little bit of a hubbub, but not a lot.
Do you think people remember it? Hold on. This was our outro music. This was the bagpipes. And the title for this is Battle Music, which I love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And the chorus, the big chorus in the background. It's kind of cool. It is kind of cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
But I like the drumline better. I'm with you. Yeah.
Maybe we come up with we keep the intro and do find another drumline for the outro.
Okay. That's amazing.
It's crazy.
It is.
That is innovation at its finest right there.
It is. That is premium podcasting right there.
Keeping it edgy, people.
You got it. You got it. All right.
Let them know what you're doing.
Yeah. So when people hear that in a future episode, they're going to be like, these guys are really something. Look at them changing up their drumline music. We love it.
Yeah. Hey,
right?
By the way, did we ever garner any votes for sexiest podcast duo?
No, we did not.
That sucks.
But I didn't ask for any. I found a picture for both of us that we could use. So maybe I'll still do that.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
The picture is really good. I'll send it to you first and get your approval before I use it. But
okay.
Yeah. And I'm not real good at, we'll have to talk to our marketing department as far as dropping your head and my head on these two people who look really good. And yeah, and they're in tight t-shirts. They got hats on. They look badass. So that's what I was going to use. And then I was going to throw down the gauntlet to the Kelsey brothers.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm comfortable in tight t-shirts.
Yeah, me too.
It's
a good look.
It's actually Oppo world of the way I go. The looser, the better. Can I have 6X in that t-shirt, please?
Yeah, but, these guys look really good. And with our heads on their bodies and their tight t-shirts, I think if the votes come in again, we're right there with the Kelsey brothers.
All right. Okay.
Because Travis looks good. Jason, he looks good, but I mean, he doesn't look very good in a tight t-shirt either.
No. He'll probably be 205 in like 6 months from playing.
Yeah, he will.
Which is probably not, but
he will.
But yeah, that's how some of those linemen roll. Not this one.
Yeah.
Not this lineman.
All right. Not this one. Yeah. Okay. So here we are, round 2.
A knockout week, Joe.
Knockout week.
It's a
why
knockout.
do you call it that?
I think it's the first week where you see, good game after good game after good game.
Yeah.
And
I think
quality
you're right.
teams. And I think I think some of the CCL teams, while they're hardened by their schedule, I think some of these teams from that we don't talk about ever or see that often, or they're even out of the Chicago area, they're really good. They
Yeah.
they are eat, breathe, and sleep football. So
Right.
they are. It's the biggest thing in the community right now, and I think their play is reflected in that. So they play with a lot of toughness. They automatically have a chip on their shoulder for the Catholic League. They all talk about, you've seen some of the news reports of games. They kind of say, we know we got a Catholic League school coming up. So I think there's a built-in, like I said, chip that might give them an edge, and I think it surprises some teams. And either way, a good team is getting knocked out. So I think that's every week is really could be called a knockout week, but this is knockout week 2.
Yeah, I think you're right with that. I like knockout week because I agree with you. The first round, you've got some teams that are there that obviously they deserve to be there because that's what they did throughout the season.
But what do you think about their seeding?
But the seedings, yeah. So I'm in complete 100% agreement with you. I like the games in round 2 way better than the games in round 1.
Yes. Yeah. There were a ton of blowouts in week 1, and just too many for a state playoff, I think.
Yeah, and there may be more in round 2, but I do think it makes sense as you go from week to week of the playoffs or round to round of the playoffs that, the competition gets better, the teams get better over the course of that time. So I'm excited about the games this week because in some of the research that I was doing around some of the games, I thought, this is a really good team here, that I haven't heard about. Obviously, we talked about the Chicago Catholic League all year, so we didn't get a chance to talk about some of these other teams, but there's some really good ones, really good.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. The other thing I didn't realize, Dan, and this may be naive of me, is the perception of some of these other teams or schools of the Chicago Catholic League, right? Knowing that the Chicago Catholic League, what they produce year in and year out from team by team basis, if you're going to face them, you're going to face a top quality team, right? There are no teams in the Chicago Catholic League that you're going to see in the playoffs that are going to be a pushover, right? And the teams know it. The other schools know it. And they make that known after the games and talking to the coaches. They say, we know how tough these teams are going to be. And this is kind of the level we strive to, right? We want to be competitive at this level. So I found that interesting reading some of the coaches' comments and some of the players' comments from some of the teams that played the Chicago Catholic League, their perspective of it, right? So, I mean, it's something we kind of take for granted. You think?
Oh,
how good they are? Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I mean, well, we know that they're fairly unique, but what we might get caught up doing and with which maybe a lot of people in Illinois do is maybe undervaluing some of the other conferences as a whole. Like you said, though, the thing that's I think unique about I can't even say that because there were several blowouts within the Catholic League this year. So
right,
there was rarely a week off for some of these teams.
Right, but when you get to week 2, really when you get to week 2, like you said, it's a knockout round. I don't think you can come in underestimating the teams that are playing the Chicago Catholic League teams. Right?
Yes.
I mean, they're here for a reason, and they played really, really good football over the course of the season. They're here to win.
Yeah.
in week 2, the knockout round. They
Yeah.
want to win for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But they will, they'll celebrate beating a Catholic League team.
Yeah.
They will. It's a big deal. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. All right.
All right. Well,
Let's see how we predict it.
let's get into them. So let's start from the top, and the top meaning the top class, 8A, and we'll go down from there. How about that, Dan?
Yeah. So after all that talk about outside of area teams,
Right.
we're going to talk about a game. We're going to lead with a game with 2 CCL teams.
2 CCL teams, and there can only be one in 8A,
Yes.
Dan.
Yep.
And if you're going to pick 2 teams in 8A from the Chicago Catholic League that kind of emerge and maybe make it to the finals, you can't pick 2 better teams than Loyola and Marist.
No, they've had just outstanding years. Marist has been steady Eddie awesome all year long. Hiccup in overtime to Joliet Catholic, no shame in that, but they've been really good. And Loyola, which we've said a few times, seems to be peaking. And
yeah, they do.
They've kind of you wouldn't think they had to figure out their team as the year went on. Thought they were kind of well-oiled machine coming into week 1, but they did have to, and they have, because they are playing really, really good football.
They are, and they had a couple of injuries early in the year, and if you dig into the details a little bit on Loyola, I know they struggled a little bit with their offensive line. I know they made some changes there, trying to find the right combination. And I feel like they did that for 1. And then they got back Ryan Fitzgerald for 2, who was a little dinged up in the middle of the season this year. They lost a couple of games, but they've won 7 straight now, Dan. And if you talk about peaking at the right time or gelling at the right time, whatever you want to call it, I think Loyola is doing that right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They are playing like I think everyone thought they would play coming into the year. So yeah, they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, and there's how many Division I players in college, or heading to college, are going to be on the field in this game, Dan? I mean, they're ton of talent, right? You've got
both teams are really loaded.
Yeah, they are really loaded. We've got a couple who were, Zuko's dog of the week in some weeks. On defense, we got Brad Fitzgibbon on Marist. We had Donovan Robinson on Loyola from a defensive standpoint. But when you look at the offensive side of the ball, you've got, for Loyola, you got Fitzgerald, their quarterback. You've got McPherson going to Iowa, their running back. You've got Brendan Loftus, their tight end. Both teams are just loaded here. So I'm trying to stall a little bit, Dan, because I don't know who to pick.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make you pick first. What do you think?
Well, Loyola's defense has been outstanding with their best performances in the last half of the season. And I called Marist steady Eddie, but that probably doesn't give them enough credit. Maybe it's an insult to say that, but they have weapons all over the field, both teams. The game's at Marist.
Yeah.
So advantage Marist there. I think the toughest place to play in the Catholic League, as far as a home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Loyola, probably is on a bit of a mission, and they're kind of playing like it. I think a chip on the shoulder is really, really big. You'll hear me say it 10 times in this episode.
All right.
That's really big. I think they created one by their early play and losing a couple games that maybe they weren't expected to lose, or losing the way that they did.
Right.
So I think they have the ability to go with the whole message. No one thinks we can do it, even though they're Loyola, right? So people think we lost,
and they've won two state championships in a row, right?
Yeah. But you're always looking for a way to get to that point where nobody believes in you. So I think they might be there. I think Marist is really good. I think it's going to be a close game, Joe, but I think Loyola pulls it out.
Okay. And we're going to disagree right up front, Dan,
All right.
because I'm, when I looked at, how I like stats, right, in comparison.
Oh, yeah. You like stats. I like maps.
Yes. You like maps, and so Marist, 33 points per game scored this year. Loyola, 32. Both teams giving up an average of 15 points per game on defense. So really good on both sides of the ball. I think these teams are really even as far as talent goes. And, I think because it's at Marist, and I know what you say about Marist is it's one of the best places to play in the Chicago Catholic League, and it's great home field advantage. I'm going to go with that, Dan, and I'm going to pick Marist over Loyola in this game.
Okay, and Joe, just in case anyone was wondering,
yeah,
37.2 miles from Loyola to Marist.
Huh.
Right now, it would take an hour.
Right. And yeah, I mean, if you were playing, would that be, you got to leave Saturday morning at 9 a.m.? Is that a problem for you?
I wouldn't like it. I do not like that commute. I would find, from where I'm at, I'd ask if I could meet the team there.
Right. That's what too much time has gone by, too much experience, Dan. You would have never said that when you were playing.
Right.
I'll meet you there. Yeah. I'm sure the coach would have loved that.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay. So you're going with Loyola. I'm going with Marist. Okay. That game is Saturday at 1:30. We're going to have to we're going to watch it, right? So it's going to be a good game no matter what. All right, so that's the only 8A game. Let's go to 7A. And the first game here, Dan, is Mount Carmel versus St. Charles North. This game is on Saturday as well. It's not until 5 o'clock at Mount Carmel. So, not too bad. You can leave at noon. You can get there and you'll be just fine. So nobody will be upset about that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I can ride the team bus on that day.
You can, and I'm sure they'd invite you along if you wanted to do that, Dan.
Oh, that'd be fun. I would love to catch a little bit of that vibe on the bus ride.
Wouldn't it? All right, so Mount Carmel coming into this round one, easy win over Harlem, 56-14. St. Charles North, easy win over Rolling Meadows, 49-14. Another game, Dan, that I think on paper, very evenly matched. Mount Carmel has been averaging 36 points per game. St. Charles North, 35 points per game. And how about this, Dan? They've both given up the exact same number of points over the season, 204. Right? So, St. Charles North likes to air it out. With their quarterback, Ethan Plum, I think he's over 200 yards per game passing the ball. They've got a really good wide receiver in Keaton Reinke, 132 yards per game, which I think is outstanding. And on defense, they've got a linebacker, Daniel Ascaro, who's averaging over 12 tackles per game. He's an outstanding player.
Yeah.
So the one thing when I was looking at this game, and I think I've said this all year, Dan, for Mount Carmel, I think one of the weak spots on their defense is their pass defense. And that's what St. Charles North likes to do. So that's going to be an interesting matchup for me, watching this game, is how St. Charles North, who likes to pass the ball, how Mount Carmel kind of steps up from a pass defense standpoint and see what they do with that.
Yeah, I my first note is that there's going to be a lot of points in this one.
A lot of points, yeah.
Yeah, both teams can score at will, and the challenge is going to see who, if anyone, gets consistent stops and or turnovers to create more possessions. The other interesting thing, Joe, is we talked about some of the conferences that that don't have to take a back seat to the Chicago Catholic League.
Right.
Now, not necessarily top to bottom, but man, the first 4 or 5 teams, Geneva in the Duquesne Conference, Geneva, St. Charles North, Batavia, Wheaton Warrenville South, Wheaton North. Now drops off a little after there, but those teams have history, tradition, great records in state championships, wins against Catholic League teams. They don't come into this with any sort of doubt or trepidation about the big bad Catholic League. They are probably ready to go, and they will not be overwhelmed or maybe intimidated. I don't know is the right word, but they won't have any issue with it.
Okay. So what is that saying? All that?
Lost you. Sorry, Joe.
No, that's all right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, good. So what does that mean, Dan? After saying all that, what do you think?
Mount Carmel.
Yeah, I'm with you on all of that stuff, but I still think Mount Carmel just has so many weapons on offense. Just starting with the quarterback, Jack Elliott. He seems to be healthy. He had, a little bit of an injury issue, but he's back. Their sophomore wide receiver, Quentin Burrell, their other wide receiver, Cooper Lehman, who both have played outstanding throughout the year. I just think they might have too many weapons, Dan, for St. Charles North to hang with. But
yeah,
I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But I'm going to go with Mount Carmel in this game.
Yeah, look for Javi Payne. I know you don't like their defensive players.
Stop saying that.
No, I love Javi Payne. I think
I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you do.
I think he's a stud, and look for him to make a big play or two in this game. I talked about turnovers, doing something. I think Javi makes something happen this game.
Okay, all right. So that means you're going with Mount Carmel, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. Saturday at 5 p.m. Stay tuned for that. So one of the other 7A games, Dan, is St. Rita versus Willowbrook. This is a Friday game, and this is out at Willowbrook. So how far is that, Dan? That's a little bit of a ride, isn't it, for St. Rita
to Willowbrook?
Yeah, on a Friday.
I don't think – I'm going to guess it's not as bad as we –
We went to St. Rita.
Yes. Yes.
How long did it take you to get out?
We didn't attend St. Rita, but
No. Right. We went out there. We took Zuko because we had Zuko's Dog of the Week. Winner was Justin Buckner, right?
Yes.
Yes. How long did it take you to get out there from where you're at? You're not too far from Willowbrook.
3 hours and 35 minutes.
Right. So, and this on a Friday too, like right after school. I don't know. I think it's going to be brutal. Anyways.
Right now it would be 40 minutes.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's Willowbrook is it's right near like 83.
It's right off the highway. Yeah. Which isn't bad.
It's 83 in Roosevelt Road.
Okay. All right. So not too bad. And I don't think
it's way further east than I am.
We're showing our age, Dan.
I know.
We're concerned about how far things are.
Not even in.
Yeah. Not even in, and wondering what the weather's going to be like too.
Right.
Where
do we need a sweater?
We might need a sweater, we need a jacket, and maybe bring an umbrella.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm out in like double wing territory. Yeah, that's I'm on the edge of double wing territory. Yeah. So yeah, but this will be a good game. Willowbrook has, they've become a program in the last 10 years that has really excelled. They've got a ton of weapons. Offensively, they play a very, very complementary style of football, and I always wonder how teams will do. Willowbrook's in what I'm going to put you on the spot. You ready?
Nope. I'm not ready. What are you going to ask me?
Is Willowbrook in the West Suburban
Yes.
silver?
Yes.
Or no, they might be in the gold.
Yes.
So
All
tough conference as well.
Yes. Very tough.
Yeah, they're in the West Suburban gold.
You're killing me. All right. Hold on.
They're in the West Suburban Conference.
That's what we played in. Oh no, we
played in the West Suburban Catholic Conference. So
right,
we're dating ourselves there again.
Yes,
since it hasn't existed for 40 years.
Right. All right. So they are in the.
I think they're in with Downer South in the gold.
They are. They're in the West Suburban Gold.
Yeah.
Not. All right. Go ahead. What were you going to say about that conference?
It's good.
I don't think it's as good as
it has. That conference is funny. It's flipped in the past 25 years.
Yeah.
It used to be the gold, and now it's silver. Has all the really, really good teams, the high end teams. But
yeah.
So my point was, I always wonder what if some teams are going to be surprised by the overall physicality of some of these teams they play. St. Rita is one of those teams that I think surprises people. We saw them. They aren't huge. They didn't look like Marist but we've seen them on film light people up.
Yeah. Yes.
And every team has got a kid or two that plays like that. But St. Rita, Fenwick, some of these teams get you from every position where they have the ability to really hammer someone. So, it's because of that reason I'm taking St. Rita. I think they're going to be the more physical team in this matchup.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's going to be the difference in the game.
Yeah. So again, on paper, Dan, two fairly evenly matched teams. Rita averaged points per game, Willowbrook 34. So Willowbrook can score. We know that. And Rita giving up only 14 points per game. Great defense. But Willowbrook only giving up 15 points per game, Dan. But, like you said, I don't think Rita is overly, big, right? But I feel like they have these elite athletes.
And hitters,
right?
Yes.
At the key positions where you want them.
Yeah.
If you're a coach, right? Say, if we could pick, our best athletes and hitters, so to speak, and we could put them at certain positions, whether it be quarterback or running back, wide receiver, linebacker, safety. I just feel like Rita has one of those guys at every one of those positions. So I think they're gonna overwhelm Willowbrook a bit, and I'm going with Rita too, Dan.
Yeah, I actually think it might be Rita by a stretch or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Willowbrook, you never to go back early in the season and look at some of the teams. I like to look at the teams they lost to. They lost to Glenbard North, which is near the bottom of the Duquesne Conference.
They lost to Downers Grove South, who I know has a good record, right, in that conference. But when Downers Grove South kind of ventured outside of that just a little bit, they just got trounced.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure how. And I think I wrote this down. Strength of schedule, you got to give that to Rita for sure.
Yeah, this might be. We talked a lot about being CCL'd in the year, the between the teams. I think Willowbrook's going to get CCL'd.
All right, yeah, that'll be interesting to watch as well. Yeah. That's Friday at 7:00. That game is out at Willowbrook, like we said earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, the other 7A game is Fenwick and Downers Grove North. And this is a Saturday game at 1:00. This is at Downers Grove North. who the more I read about and look at, they look really good, Dan.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. And I'm not, I know Fenwick is really good too, right? But if you want to talk about a conference, coming out of a conference where maybe you're a bit battle tested, I think Downers Grove North has that as well going for them. But they were pretty dominant, even in a tough schedule and tough conference. But they scored 38 points per game. Fenwick, 23 points per game on offense. But listen to this, Dan. Downers Grove North gave up an average of 9 points per game on defense.
Yep.
Is this going to be a battle of the defenses? We know how good Fenwick is as well.
Yeah. Well, the difference might be, the otherworldly quarterback for Downers Grove North, Owen Lansu. Minnesota commit, really highly regarded, highly recruited. He's the real deal, super efficient. So I had that too. I said everyone talks about Owen Lansu when they talk about Downers North, but they obviously play really, really good defense. And I think I don't know what Fenwick, even though Frankie Hostie's been great when he's had to play, and I don't know if that's a coach's decision, if it's an injury, whatever. While Jamin Williams hasn't played, but so I just think Downers Grove North is going to be able to score more than Fenwick. Now it might be 17-14, 17-10 type of thing. So, but I just think Downers Grove North is too much offensively, for Fenwick just to continue to. I have a feeling their defense is going to be on the field a lot. What if Fenwick is able to win this game? It's going to be because of their hard hitting DBs, and linebackers. You've got Jack Paris and the Theis boys on defense, and I always like to say Fenwick will knock your block off. And so I just think that Lansu is really good. One of the top guys, and be one thing if he just had a cannon for an arm, throw into a he's a pick you apart guy. Yeah, which would be frustrating. Like Jack Elliott.
Yeah, like Jack Elliott. I think that's a really good comparison, Dan. I didn't watch a ton of film on Downers Grove North, but I did watch enough to see how good that Lansu is. They also have a really good running back in Jake Gregorio, who when Lansu isn't passing the ball or making something happen with his legs, they can turn to their running attack with Gregorio at running back, and he's a really solid runner, tough runner. How much stock, Dan, do you put in common opponents?
Probably not supposed to put a lot in it. Your teams can get lulled into a false sense of security, or the other way around. But who do they got?
All right, their common opponent was Oak Park River Forest. Fenwick played Oak Park River Forest the first game of the year and beat them 30-0. Downers Grove North played them, I think, their fourth or fifth game of the year and beat them 28-7. So I don't know, do you put any stock in that or not? But for me, after, like I said, watching a little bit of film, and that I think Fenwick has their hands full. I think the game being at Downers Grove North, I think it's going to make a difference for sure. So I'm gonna go with Downers Grove North in this one, Dan.
Yeah, that's my pick. That's my pick too. But like I said, it that if you do the common opponents thing, it pencils out to a tight game.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
And so yeah, I'm with you. We are Catholic League guys, but before we were Catholic League guys, we were what? Downers Grove guys.
Downers Grove guys.
Yep.
Although we
So-
were Downers Grove South guys, right?
Yeah, would have gone to
yeah.
South, and they were
Yeah.
the power back in the day
Back then.
when I was playing. They were terrible when you played, right?
They were bad.
Yeah.
But I played. I'm not going to date myself, but when I was in 8th grade, and I played football on the team that I played on
With Newt Rockney. Did you guys beat him?
No, Newt was very good, by the way. He was a good player.
Yeah.
I had, I think, 4 or 5 guys that I played with that ended up going to Downers Grove North. They were good football players, and we were better, of course, going to Benet at that point. But I'll give them their props. They were good, and they're good. They're good now too, right?
Yeah, and I have to say, we played South, and as juniors they waxed us, and then we returned the favor as seniors. So
I remember that.
Downers Grove's got good football.
They do. They've got good football.
All right. I think you didn't play for the Panthers. You played in the historical team, the Blue Devils, right?
The Blue Devils. Yeah. Yeah, your inflection is wrong. It's not the Blue Devils, it's the Blue Devils.
Blue Devils. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I still think so. On that
Did you
team,
practice at Dorhofer?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Practice at Dorhofer. And on that team was Tom Edwards, and I still think there's Edwards going to Downers Grove North.
Yeah, Joe Edwards plays defense for him right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a nephew or what of Tom. But the other person who went to Downers North was Jeff Quinn, who's had a really good career, right?
Yeah,
going
Where's
on.
Where's he coaching these days?
He's not coaching. He's consulting at this point.
Nice.
So. Anyways.
Yeah, we played when I was a coach at Benet. We played, and there was an Edwards that was playing quarterback. They ran option offense, not double wing, but they ran like belly, belly option, and
inside belly.
Their quarterback was David Edwards, who then went to Wisconsin as a tight end.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, was in the NFL. It may still be as a tackle. So
he just gets bigger and bigger.
Yes, you can imagine how fun he was he fell forward for 3 yards, right? Taking the snap. So, yeah. So Downers Grove, good football. We both picked North this week. The Trojans.
We do. Okay. So let's move down to no 6A games. Let's move down to 5A. And the first one here, Dan, is Joliet Catholic and Sacred Heart Griffin. Game on Saturday at 2:00. This is at Sacred Heart Griffin. Do you know how far away that is from Joliet Catholic?
That's got to be, I'm going to guess that one. That's got to be 100.
2 hours?
Yeah.
3 hours? 2.5 hours? Yeah.
Maybe 2. Yeah. Between 2 and 2.5. 150 miles.
Yeah. Okay. So guess what with this game too, Dan, and you just kind of poo-pooed this. They have a common opponent.
Yeah.
Yes. Jacksonville, who Joliet Catholic beat in the first round 58-6. Sacred Heart Griffin beat them middle of the season 35-10. Does that tell you anything?
A little bit.
A little bit?
I might take a little bit away from that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Joe, my opinion on this is that now Joliet Catholic has is a very physical football team on both sides of the ball. To say that there's not a lot of teams that match up with them in the state is not underselling it. I feel like I've undersold their defense all year. However, I think that's going to be the real difference in this game. I think Joliet Catholic overwhelms you with their physicality on both sides of the football. Yeah. Size, speed, tackling ability, closing speed. The way they grind you into dust when they're on offense. Yeah, it is. I think it's going to be too much. Now, Sacred Heart Griffin, just reading about them a little bit, they've They feel like they have come on lately, so we talk about Loyola hitting their stride. SHG feels like they're hitting their stride with Cam Brinkman at quarterback, Seamus O'Brien, good Italian at wide receiver.
There's an Italian for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they feel like they're hitting their stride. And so while I think there is something for that, I don't think you want to be developing anything when you go to play JCA. You've got to be fully baked, fully developed.
You got to be ready to go.
So hitting their stride is while I give them kudos for that, and I'm sure that they're a really good football team because they always are. My pick is going to be for Joliet Catholic because they are fully baked, fully developed, and monsters at every position.
Yeah, and I think the way they're constructed or the way they play, on offense, they control the ball, they run the ball, they eat up clock. They're tough to stop for sure with their running backs. And then, I know Sacred Heart Griffin has been scoring a lot of points this year. I think 33 points per game, but they've been giving up 24 points per game. I just think the combination of Joliet Catholic's defense with the way their offense operates and, eating up the clock and chunking, getting big chunks of yards with the running backs. I think that doesn't match up well for Sacred Heart Griffin, and I like Joliet Catholic too in this.
Yeah,
game.
One of my notes, Joe. God, we're on the same page. You'd think we're brothers, but I have Joliet Catholic is, to me, this is one of their more complimentary teams in several years. I have felt like they were susceptible defensively for a few years where they had really good offenses, but even back in the coaching days at Benet, we felt like we could get them if we could throw the ball. And I don't know if that's the case anymore. And
no, I don't think so.
Yeah. So that game against Naz, holding them to 16 points is a difference maker in my thought process with JCA beating Marist. So I think they're really good, and they win this one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. We're in agreement there. Let's go to the other or one of the other 5A games, and this is Nazareth versus Woodstock North. And Woodstock North is having what, Dan?
Generational season.
Generational season. I like that. I thought about that often as I was, going through and doing a bit of research on this game coming up. Nazareth, huge win in round 1, 54-0 over Peyton. Woodstock, a good win too over a tough Freeport team. Woodstock 34-24. Again, here we go, Dan. On paper, this is pretty evenly matched game. You got Woodstock North averaging 34 points per game. Nazareth, 36 points per game. Woodstock North, they're giving up 22 points per game. Nazareth, a little bit better, 19 points per game. One thing, and I did watch a little bit of film of Woodstock North because I kind of wanted to get a feel for where they're at. Dan, have you seen their running back, David Randecker? Their fullback? I mean, he is a force.
Yes.
Unbelievable the way that kid can run. And not only fast, but tough. And he's big.
He's big, right? He's a big guy, right?
Big guy. And really tough to stop. But, I do think from a standpoint of Woodstock North is that, he's who they rely on. He's their weapon on offense, and he is an outstanding weapon. But I just feel like maybe they're going to need more than that to compete with Naz.
Yeah, I think in order to beat a team like Nazareth in the playoffs like this, when they're very focused, I know they've lost a couple games, but they I think you need to be elite on both sides of the ball, and I think is it Landecker?
It is Randecker.
Randecker.
David Randecker. Yeah.
I think he can have some success, but like you said, they need more, and I just don't see how they stop Nazareth with any sort of consistency.
Yeah, and I feel bad about that, Dan, because you've been talking about them as what was it again?
Generational season.
Generational season.
Generational.
Yeah, generational. I keep thinking that, gosh, if it's a generational season for them, and it is, they've got a really good team this year. I hate for them to lose. I want it to be that storybook ending for them. But if I were Nazareth and coach on Nazareth, and I would have Gabe Kaminsky staring at David Randecker the whole game, and wherever he goes, I would knock him down, right?
Yes.
And then make somebody else beat you. Take Randecker out of the game, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And we know the kind of weapons that Nazareth has on offense with Logan Malachek. They've got who is it? Henley, James Henley, Jake Sestone, wide receivers.
Yeah, Lesroy Tittle at running back.
Lesroy Tittle, running back. They just got too
Eddie
many
McClain.
weapons.
Yeah.
Eddie McClain. Yeah. Just too many. And not just on offense, on defense as well. We've got two dogs, Zuko's dogs of the week on Nazareth with Gabe Kaminsky and Garrett Reese. I just think there's too much talent on Nazareth all over the field on both sides of the ball. And I'm picking Nazareth as well in this.
It's a huge upset if Nazareth doesn't make it to the state championship. That's whether it's I don't care if it's St. Francis beating them again. I mean, this would be a massive upset and send shockwaves through the IHSA playoffs.
Yeah, and this game is at Naz too on Saturday.
What's become a very, very difficult place to play. Students are right on top of you there too, so that's a tough place to play.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the other 5A game here. Well, there's two more, but let's go to the Rochelle and Benet game, Dan. And I'm going to let you go first on this.
Joe, so Rochelle returns a bunch of players. Now,
right.
Not only do they return but they return 10 all-conference players from last year.
They're really good.
They're really
good. Yeah.
They got a lot of guys that go both ways, but
mm-hmm.
I think they're completely prepared and they're loaded. They're loaded. Their coach, I liked at the beginning of the year, he wanted to make sure people knew they were a loaded class with excellent playmakers on either side of the ball, and he wasn't giving a quarter to anybody. Now Benet might be a little bit different team than they normally see.
Oh, for sure.
And Benet can score in a hurry, and both teams can put up a lot of points. I sometimes think Benet struggles with some of the teams that do the whole run right at you and try and pound you into the ground, but they did have success against Moline, which is a team like that.
Right.
But what they did was they used their offense to help their defense. And I think they have the ability to do the same thing with Ryan Kabaki and Luke Doyle and Marty Radgowski. But they have to be good. I don't know the weather forecast for tomorrow, but a nice day would favor Benet.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I just think that Rochelle is too much for Benet. I think that they are, and Bennett's done well when I pick against them, so they let me know that.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, they
although they still don't like it, even though they do well, they still don't like that you pick against them, Dan.
Right. I told them I'm doing you a favor.
Yeah.
So everything I root for goes the opposite. So
yes.
So yeah. So but I'm picking Rochelle in this one because I just worry about Benet being able to consistently stop that power running game.
Yeah. So Rochelle last year lost to St. Francis in the first round of the playoffs, Dan, 45-14. Does that give you any perspective or change anything? or
They
no?
were a team full of juniors
Yeah, that's
playing
true. Yeah.
playing a pretty experienced St. Francis team, with a Division I quarterback, and I think experience may have played a role in that. I think they are back bigger, better than ever this year.
Yeah, my prognosticus, said he doesn't give a hoot about last year. How about that? He said it's a bunch of bologna.
Yeah. Did he? He's a corny old Italian,
He
that
is a
guy.
corny old Italian, and he was ornery this week too. Yeah, so I think Bennett's going to be able to score against Rochelle, but I'm worried about Bennett's defense on this. I don't know if they faced anybody who can run the ball like Rochelle runs the
I
ball
mean,
this
the
year.
closest is, I think the closest is Moline.
Yeah, and Bennett beat Moline, but Rochelle handily beat Moline as well.
Yeah.
And their running backs, I think they have 3 running backs who are over 1,000 yards, Dan.
Yeah.
Rochelle. That reminds me of let me think. I hate to keep dating myself. That reminds me of the Geneva teams back in the 80s. They used to have 2 or 3 running backs who were, had over 1,000 yards in the season. They just pounded you, play after play. And I think that's what Rochelle does. And I'm not sure that, Bennett on defense, I haven't seen them try and stop the run like that. So, or something that's that effective like this. So,
Yeah, when you have to use so many resources to stop the run, the quarterback for Rochelle, they can go 3 for 4 with 3 touchdowns.
right.
It's that kind of offense. So it's a little
Yeah,
like JCA's in that
it
Bennett
is.
didn't face JCA this year, but yeah, I'm going out. I'm going against the boys in Lyle, and I'm picking Rochelle. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I have to do the same thing, Dan. I think, the combination of how Rochelle controls the football and runs it, and then they play really good defense too, Dan.
yeah, their defense has been awesome.
Yeah. So, I do think Bennett's going to be able to score some points here, but I don't think enough. And I think they're going to run out of time against a team like Rochelle. So I'm going with Rochelle as well.
Yeah, look for if Bennett goes up early, big early, like a 21-0. Then you might get Rochelle out of their game a little bit, but that's how Bennett's going to have to win.
Yeah. Okay.
And they can do that. They can do that, but yeah, I think that's what they'll have to do.
Yeah, and Rochelle, just one more thing, Dan. Rochelle took care of 2 Chicago Catholic League teams this year.
Right.
They beat Marian Catholic the last game of the regular season, 48-23. They beat Marmion then, obviously in the first round of the playoffs, 42-7. So they know what it's like to go up against the Chicago Catholic League, and they're not going to shy away from it, I'm sure.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
That experience bodes well for them.
Yep. All right. So the last game in 5A is St. Francis and Prairie Ridge, which this is going to be a really good game, Dan.
Yeah.
Both these teams are 8-2. Both teams are averaging about 33 points a game. Prairie Ridge has been a little bit stingier on defense this year than St. Francis, and giving up just under 14 points a game. The only 2 losses that Prairie Ridge has are against 2 really good teams in Cary Grove and Burlington Central. This is at St. Francis on Saturday, and I think that may make a difference, but this is going to be a battle for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be one, I think, with a lot of points. I think it's going to be a high point total for this game, and I kind of think I like some of the players on St. Francis defense, but I kind of think the same thing. I think they might get frustrated by the way by Prairie Ridge's running game, and when you have a quarterback that's such a big part of the running game like Prairie Ridge does, and he's big. They've got two quarterbacks I think that they've played, and one sounds like he's a handful to bring down. He sounds like a load, and so I think there's been some injuries there, so that may play a factor in this, but I kind of think the same way about Prairie Ridge and St. Francis as I do about Rochelle and Benet. I think Prairie Ridge is better than Rochelle, and I think they've got some more, team speed. So I am going out on a limb a little bit. I'm taking Prairie Ridge in what might be considered an upset.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, from a ranking standpoint, it would be. I think St. Francis might be ranked 5th. Prairie Ridge might be 8th or 9th, somewhere along there. And Prairie Ridge comes out of a really good conference and plays some really tough teams. So it's not like they are not battle tested. St. Francis, even though they've got a good record, I feel like they've we've watched them a lot. I feel like they've been up and down, up and down, up and down. They beat Loyola and then they'll lose some other game, right? But I like St. Francis here, Dan. I look at it the same way I looked at some of the other games and think about the weapons that St. Francis has. We've seen how good Brady Palmer is, their quarterback.
Yeah,
not only
he's really
throwing,
good.
running the ball. Zach Washington, their wide receiver, who had an outstanding game against Sterling in the first round. Nobody could catch him. I mean, he's got a ton of speed. Then you've got Tyvon Ransom, the running back, who we know how good he is as well. So I think St. Francis, with the number of weapons they have, I think they're going to outscore Prairie Ridge. This is how I'm going to put it. And I'm going to go with St. Francis.
Okay.
All right. So we differ on that one. Okay. So let's go to 4A. And the first game here, Dan, is Wheaton Academy in St. Laurence. Do you know anything about Wheaton Academy?
I know they have a transfer alert. London LaFleur, transfer from South Elgin. He's a load, two-way player, running back, linebacker. He's a guy that brings it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
They can score points. They traditionally were a high-flying, throw it all over the place team. I don't know. I've not seen film, but I don't know if that's what they have this year. They have returned some people, and this was a 1-point victory for St. Lawrence last year. So
it's a rematch, right?
Yeah,
of the semifinal game.
Semifinals, yeah,
double overtime. Yeah, yes. 31-30.
Yeah, and the chip is squarely on the shoulder of Wheaton Academy.
Yeah,
right. They probably were thrilled when they saw the bracket and they got a chance to avenge last year's loss. So I think there's a lot to be said for that this year. I think high school kids are really motivated by that, more so than college or the NFL. But so I think Wheaton Academy has an advantage in this game because of that. And
okay.
I think they pull it out, Joe. I think Wheaton Academy is going to give St. Lawrence all they can handle. Now, St. Lawrence is kind of a boy. Do they go as Chase Kwiatkowski goes, or what?
Chase Kwiatkowski and Harley Riz, right?
Yeah, and they're healthy. Yeah. So I think that is what makes this even more interesting and more difficult to call. I feel like I'm picking against the Catholic League. I kind of do this in a vacuum, and
you do what you do, Dan.
Yeah, I got to be me. I got to be me.
So you're picking Wheaton Academy?
Yes.
All right, I wrote it down so you can't change. Okay?
Thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so out of all the games we looked at or we're looking at, so the best defense from a standpoint of points per game average is Wheaton Academy.
Yeah.
They've only given up 84 points in 10 games, Dan. just over a touchdown and an extra point per game. So it's not just their offense where they can score. They're averaging over 40 points per game, but their defense is really good too. Their defense is led by, they've got a linebacker, Jeremiah Johanic, who's averaging over 12 tackles per game. And then they got defensive end Deonis King with 5 sacks, who's, also getting 4 or 5 tackles per game. All that said, Dave, when I did look at a little bit of film, and I think St. Lawrence is gonna be too physical, or gonna out physical Wheaton Academy in this. St. Lawrence is big. Yeah. Wheaton Academy is not as big, right?
And they certainly didn't play the schedule that St. Lawrence played.
No, they did not.
Nearly as calloused.
Yeah, but you can only play who's on your schedule, right? And they did that, and they did it well. They're 9-1 record. So, but I'm going to go with St. Lawrence in this. I think, St. Lawrence, like we mentioned with, Loyola, obviously getting healthy at the right time of the year. They got their quarterbacks, Chase Kwiatkowski, back, who looked really good in the round 1 of the playoffs. Harley Riz, who was struggling a little bit with some injuries, he's back too. He looked really good, rushed for over 200 yards in round 1. I think that's going to continue. I think they're peaking at a good time here. So I'm going to pick St. Lawrence in this one.
Joe, do you know where that game is at?
Yes, that is at St. Lawrence, Saturday, 1:00.
Okay.
Did you want to know that before you made your pick? I already wrote it down.
It is a factor for sure.
It is. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially definitely in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah. Playing in the friendly confines of Wheaton, versus that cool field, in St. Lawrence.
Yeah. And it's not a great commute either.
Not a great commute.
How far? No. How far?
On Saturday, it should be fine. But
yeah.
I think I went there. I think my last trip to St. Lawrence, I left at like 7:00 in the morning for a 9:30 start. So
yeah,
and I got there just in time.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. We differ on that one as well. Let's go to the other 4A game, and it is DePaul Prep and Geneseo. This game is Saturday at DePaul, so that's a bit of a commute for Geneseo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Geneseo, they knocked out the number 1 seed, Sullivan, 42-0 in round 1.
Wow, that's quite the victory of a number 1 seed.
It is. It's really, really impressive. DePaul, they beat Diet 48-8. Two similar games in round 1 for both of these teams. We followed DePaul very closely right throughout the year. We love what they've done this year. They're 7-3 now, Dan. And I feel like I've mentioned this a couple times, but I feel like DePaul Prep is a team that has just gotten better and better and better from week to week. Now they had a couple hiccups against Benet. I think that was at the last regular season game.
Yeah.
That they lost in overtime to St. Francis, which was a really good game. But I think, DePaul is really kind of, they've got everything they need. They've got all the talent they need. They've got the size on both sides. They've got really good offensive and defensive line. They're going to be a tough out for Geneseo in this game.
Yeah, we've talked about Geneseo. They play in the same conference as Rochelle, I think, but they do kind of the same thing as Rochelle and Prairie Ridge, but they don't do it quite as well as some of those other schools. They finished 2-4 in the conference, so So while they had a really good victory, with in round one and dominating victory, it's going to be a big step up in talent, and they might have a hard time holding DePaul Prep down. DePaul Prep placed 4 or 5 guys, and we talk about DePaul Prep's offense a lot with Juju Rodriguez, and as co-player of the year, he deserves it.
Right.
But 4 or 5 guys on the all-conference team on defense, Joe. So Geneseo they are a young team. They have a first-year coach, and I don't think you would ever get them to say they're happy to be where they're at. But I do think that they should consider this season a success already. But that being said, I think it ends this weekend for them. I think DePaul Prep wins this one.
Yeah. So if I were to tell you, so see if you can follow this, Dan. All right.
Uh-oh.
So
I'm already lost.
They don't have a common opponent. Think of it as kind of 2 degrees of separation, right? So
okay.
Geneseo lost to Moline, who Benet Academy beat, right?
Yes.
Geneseo also lost to Sterling, who lost last week in the first round to St. Francis and earlier in the year to Notre Dame. Does that give you any additional information? Can you?
It is like
that?
I always say it's like the police drama with the board that you see on every police drama where they're putting pins in the map and their
timelines and on the maps and
they've got threads going from one push pin to the next push pin of this is where the bad guy has committed his crimes and this is how they fit together. So I think that's what you're doing there with that, and which I think comes out to after several hours of investigation,
right?
That DePaul Prep is probably the favorite in this game.
I would think DePaul Prep is the favorite too. Now I like what Geneseo's. So they've got new head coach this year, Matt Furlong, and if you were to think about the Geneseo of old, Dan, what would you think from an offensive standpoint? The
Green Machine. I would think double
wing T.
Yes.
Yep. And they still run that, but what the new coach has instilled is a new offense, new defense. They still run the double wing T just to make people prepare for it. But
that's a good idea.
Yeah, but they really like to kind of mix it up a bit. They're throwing the ball a lot more this year, and like you mentioned, they're a young team, and I think they've started to gel more towards the end of the year here, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them going up against DePaul. I like where Geneseo's headed, and we're probably going to see them a lot over the next couple of years, or mention them a lot, but I think DePaul Prep, where they're at, their senior leadership, both offense and defense, and how they've kind of grown throughout the year and won some big tough games in the Chicago Catholic League. I think they win this game too, Dan.
Okay.
All right. So last game, Dan, is Byron and Montini. This 3A game. This is a Saturday game at 1:00 at Montini, which I think is going to make a difference here. But again, we've got Byron coming in. They're 10-0. They beat Prairie Central in the first round 57-20. Montini 8-2. They beat North Lawndale 49-0. The big thing is this a rematch of last year's semifinal matchup where Byron won in the last 3 minutes of the game. They won 26-20. They scored a touchdown late. Listen to this, Dan. So Montini, points they've scored this year is 311. Points against, 94. They're averaging 31 points per game. Defense is really good, as we know. All right, but listen to Byron. So Byron has scored 511.
Good grief.
And their points against is 89. So
wow.
They're averaging 51 points per game. They're giving up, obviously less than 9 points per game on defense. They are, they're a machine right now. The only close game they had this year was against Dixon, where they won 29-28, which, by the way, was Dixon's only loss this season. So, Byron has two outstanding players. They've got many outstanding players, but they are driven by their running backs, Caden Considine and Braden Knoll, who both are two-way players. Caden Considine plays linebacker on defense. Braden Knoll plays safety. They're both returning from last year's team, which won the state championship. So they're primed, Dan, for this game against Montini. But I think it's going to be really close because Montini's returning. As we know, 10 of 11 players, from defense last year. They've got new quarterback this year, and Israel Abrams. So a little bit different look from last year. So this is probably the most interesting game out of all the ones that we've covered or are going to cover, Dan, and talk about.
Yeah, it's state championship level game in round 2. It'd be fine being the state championship game. I'm sure of that. So, Byron is I had a chance, Joe, to see their coach, Jeff Boyer, at a coach's clinic do a talk on culture. Their culture is awesome. They have these kids. I mean, they are chomping at the bit from the time they're in 6th grade or the time they put a football uniform on to play for Byron. They honor their tradition in a great way. They do some different things there with bringing kids in when they're freshmen and showing them the names of the players who've been all conference for the past 40 years. They bring out one of the games. They bring out the linemen in a hog trailer. That's how they bring them to the field. Yeah. And they're going crazy. They're banging on the inside of the trailer's shaking when they bring it out. You got to look at it on YouTube. It's unbelievable. And then they open it out and they all come running out and the fans go crazy. So it's a whole community thing. That being said, so is Montini. We've learned that this year that their fans are behind them in a big way. It's a very strong community. The chip on the shoulder advantage goes to Montini this year. I'm sure they are fired up. And because of that,
they've got cannons, Dan.
And they have cannons.
Yes.
Yeah. Just don't aim it at the trailer.
Right.
If Byron
at the hog trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't aim it there. But all that said, Joe, I'm still.
You're riding the Bronco.
Riding the Bronco. Yep. Riding the Bronco on this. I think that chip on the shoulder is big for these guys this week. And so I think they're going to leave it all out on the field. I'm picking Montini in another really close game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really close game as well. I think what Byron does well is obviously they run the ball really well. But I think that plays well into Montini's hands as far as, who they've got up front on their defensive line and Nicky Castaldo and J.C. Hayes. We know their linebackers, Mateo Barrett, as well as one of the Santinos, Dan. Which one?
Santino
Tenuta. And
Zuko's buddy.
And one of the Arian brothers as well. I think Montini's defense is just going to be, they are going to swarm all over in this game. And they're going to make Byron probably do some things that Byron hasn't had to do all year and probably doesn't do as well as they would like to. And, I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think it's going to be Montini's defense, which makes a difference here. I also like the idea that this game is at Montini. I think the place is going to be rocking for sure. And
when is that game, Joe?
That game is Saturday, 1:00 at Montini. So Dan, I am Can you hear that?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I'm not quite sure.
I'm riding the Bronco.
I'm not sure I recognize that pattern.
It's not quite as good as yours because I haven't done it until today, or right now, actually.
Yeah, I practiced for several hours to get the Bronco
not very
right.
good. Yeah,
you're riding the Bronco. I get it.
My horse limps a little bit.
Yes, I think he came out of the bar in Lombard.
Yeah, and I think my Prognosticus is riding it, so that doesn't help. Yeah. So I'm riding the Bronco too, Dan, in this game, and it is a state championship game. I think whoever wins this goes on to most likely win the state championship. And,
wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm picking Montini here, and I'm picking them to go all the way, Dan.
All right.
So,
yes.
All right. So we both... Yeah, yours is way better than mine. All right, I'll practice. Yeah.
It's because my Prognosticus has nothing to do with him. My Prognosticus struggled this week, Joe, by the way. All the wind.
The wind bothered him?
Yeah. Outside the window, and then whoosh, she was gone. Struggling to come back and hover outside the window. Whoosh, she was gone. Stuck in the tree. Yeah, he had a lot of stuff going on.
You got to help him out, Dan. You've got to put like a little roost out there and maybe a little windbreak so it can be very comfortable just sitting outside your window and tapping, screeching, scratching,
right,
whatever he does.
Communicating. Yeah, it's kind of like Morse code, but not Morse code.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wish mine was more like that, but like I've said before, he unfortunately comes to me in my head, and he's not very agreeable, not very fun to talk to. But he's a little on edge this week with the second round of the playoffs.
Oh yeah, knockout week. Yep, he sure is. I would think mine. Maybe mine was doing that on purpose, so he didn't have to make picks. Like, ooh, I really could manage this win, but I'm gonna do a whole thing here, so he can't get good picks. So I'm nervous about my picks too.
Yeah, and he doesn't. Mine doesn't like some of the criteria I go by either. And I don't like his criteria, so we fight about that.
Ah, okay, yeah,
yeah. But in the end, we're fairly simpatico as far as what we come up with as far as our picks go. So
okay,
all right. So that is it, Dan, for our Prognosticus episode, and our previews and predictions of round 2. I think you and I were pretty much in sync, except for, let's see, 1, 2, 3 games. 3 games. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But we both did pretty good last week, Dan. I know I didn't go over that, did I? I think, let's see, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There were 13 games. I think I was 10-3 last week, and you were 9-4.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So, I'm going from the playoffs forward.
Ah, yes. Right.
All right.
I'm more of a regular season guy.
Right. So I'm discounting how I did in the regular season, where I think you ended up being up by like 5 games in the regular season over me. Yeah, but I'm up by 1 over you now.
All right.
Playoffs.
All right.
New season. It's a new season, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. And we will be back after the games with our recap episode. That'll be coming out on Sunday or Monday, probably Monday morning. So make sure you come back and listen to that wherever you're listening from. Make sure you like us, you follow us, you subscribe to us, wherever that might be. We're out there on all of the different places where you can get your podcasts. We're also on social media. Make sure you follow us there and like us there as well. But as always, we appreciate you listening, and we will talk to you soon.